If you have already played a few hours of Moonlight Peaks, you have probably felt that "am I doing this right?" sensation. Your farm grows, but it feels like it grows too slowly, and every new season feels like it will catch you unprepared again. Well, I went through that too, and after testing quite a few things, I've separated 10 tips that really make a difference in the speed at which your farm evolves. So stay until the end, because at least one tip here will help you a lot. I'm Mary, and the video is about to start. One of the first things I realized is that selling raw crops is basically throwing money away. In the beginning, I did that for about 2 days, selling blood grapes and strawberries directly to the shop. And only after I stopped to calculate the numbers did I understand how much I was losing. The keg completely changes this game, and it is practically the centerpiece of your economy in the first few weeks. As soon as Orlock gives you the recipe, the advice is simple: don't build just one. Build at least 3, and if you have the space and resources, go beyond that. I know that in the beginning, every coin seems precious, and there's that urge to save on everything, but kegs pay for themselves quickly, and the more you have running at the same time, the sooner your farm starts generating passive income while you focus on other tasks. The logic is quite direct. You take blood grapes, white grapes, strawberries, and raspberries, and turn it all into juice or wine. The process takes a while, but that is the trick, because the processed product sells for much more than the raw fruit. I remember comparing the price of a single blood grape with the wine made from it, and the difference is large enough to completely change your pace of progress. In the end, it is one of those mechanics that seem obvious once you understand them, but they go unnoticed if you don't pay attention to the game's details. If I had invested in multiple kegs from the very first day, my farm would have evolved much faster in the first seasons. So that is the tip. Prioritize kegs, process your fruits, and let the money work for you while you take care of the rest of the farm. Choosing what to plant in this game completely changes the pace of your progression. In the beginning, there is that urge to go out and plant everything, testing every seed. But when you understand which crops are really worth your time, the game starts to flow much better. One of the best decisions you can make is to focus on plants that regenerate, like blood grapes, white grapes, strawberries, and raspberries. These are pure gold because you don't have to keep replanting all the time. You harvest, wait a while, and they are there again, ready for more profit. It's a constant cycle that practically works for you. And this completely changes the way you organize your farm. Instead of spending energy and time replanting, you start investing that time in other things, exploring, improving structures, taking care of other game systems. It seems like a simple change, but in practice, it is what separates a stalled farm from one that really grows fast. For me, this type of crop is what makes Moonlight Peaks a more strategic game than it seems at first. You stop playing in survival mode and start thinking about efficiency. And when the money starts coming in consistently, that's when the game truly opens up. You know that feeling of breaking your back in the field while your character's energy reserve disappears in 2 seconds? In Moonlight Peaks, I went through that until I discovered a transformation that simply changes the game's rules. Right after that dinner quest between the Logan and Ambrosia families, you unlock the Hellkitten form. And I need to tell you, this is the dirty secret of the most efficient farm around. Since I got this transformation, I can't go back to the normal format when it comes to manual labor. The trick is to use the Hellkitten whenever you are plowing the soil or digging. It seems silly at first glance, but the difference in energy spent is absurd. While your human form sweats and devours the stamina bar with every furrow in the ground, the little hellish cat does the same work, spending a fraction of the effort. I was shocked when I realized I could double the plots in the same day without needing to resort to that expensive coffee or recovery power-ups. It is a resource saving that seems almost broken, but it is totally legitimate. And it doesn't stop in the field. Locomotion gets an absurd speed boost. Whether running between your farm's plots or crossing town to deliver items and talk to NPCs, the Hellkitten takes you from one point to another in the blink of an eye. I started using the transformation even for simple day-to-day tasks, because that quick sprint saves precious minutes of the in-game day. In a simulator where every hour counts, this extra time means more money, more friendships built, and more progress unlocked. My personal recommendation is simple. As soon as you get this transformation, abuse it without remorse. There's no reason to be hammering the soil in your common form when you have a super efficient demonic cat waiting to be used. Let it work, let it run, and watch your farm take off at a speed you didn't expect. It is one of those tips that after you learn it, you can't play without it anymore. One thing that completely changed my pace was to stop treating spells as a luxury and start seeing them as an investment. When the Web of Wonders finally unlocks the spells, there's a feeling of, I'll check that later. But honestly, this is one of the biggest mistakes you can make at the beginning of the game. I recommend getting them all as soon as possible. But there are two that are practically mandatory: Aquaflux and Ethereal Tools. Aquaflux, especially, is absurdly useful because it solves the problem of having to water plants manually once and for all, even more so when you start dealing with enchanted crops. It is that type of ability that takes a huge weight off your daily routine. Ethereal tools, like the axe and pickaxe, follow the same logic. You start to notice that you are spending less physical energy on repetitive tasks, and this opens up space to do much more in the same day. I felt this very quickly. Suddenly, I had time to explore, take better care of the farm, and still advance in other parts of the game without being exhausted all the time. In the end, these spells are not just convenience. They are pure progress acceleration. The sooner you invest in them, the sooner you get out of that slow cycle of the beginning of the game and start to really evolve your farm consistently. If I could go back in time in my save, this would be one of the top priorities without thinking twice. If there is a mistake I almost made in the beginning, it was wanting to clear the entire farm at once. You look at that land full of rocks, weeds, and mess and think, I'll get it all clean right away. But the game punishes you for that. The energy runs out quickly, the day flies by, and in the end, you have a lot of open land and zero capacity to take proper care of it. The tip that really changed my pace was to clear only what was necessary, a small, well-organized patch that is easy to water and harvest. It seems like little, but it is exactly what you need at the beginning. With a controlled area, you can plant, maintain, and profit without feeling overwhelmed. It is much more efficient than spreading yourself out over a giant piece of land and not being able to manage anything. When you have extra energy at the end of the day, then it is worth expanding a little. Another piece here, another bed there. This gradual progression makes the farm grow naturally without that feeling of chaos. And the best part? You start to realize what you really need instead of clearing on impulse. For me, Moonlight Peaks rewards those who play with patience. It is not about having the biggest farm on the first day, it's about having a farm that works. Start small, take good care, and expand at your own pace. The progress becomes more stable, the money comes in with more consistency, and you avoid that frustration of spending everything and seeing no return. There's a classic trap in life simulators that I fell for when I started Moonlight Peaks, thinking the world is your oyster and trying to do everything at once. Jumping from chat to chat, trying to plant random seeds, fishing with your hands. In the end, you just spread energy and resources everywhere without achieving real progress. Over time, I learned that before going out exploring every corner of the map, there is a path that the game practically begs you to follow. The tip is simple, but it completely transforms the learning curve. Lock into your main quests, especially Luna's. There are two specific ones that are the turning point: magic of the crops and the need for herbs. Focusing on these story quests from the beginning is not just following the script, it is unlocking the farm's true survival kit. While you were there trying to save money to buy tools at the market, the story gives you the fundamental pieces for free, just for paying attention to what Luna is asking for. What changes in practice? Basic tools that actually work, the capture net, the fishing rod, and the great game changer, access to magic. With these 4 elements in hand, the game ceases to be a constant fight against stamina and lack of options. You can irrigate without spending rivers of energy, fish for ingredients for extra money, use the net for resources you didn't even know you needed, and magic opens doors that no tool can reach. Suddenly, that little piece of land that seemed impossible to cultivate becomes net profit. Today, when I recommend Moonlight Peaks to someone, the first thing I say is resist the urge to do everything, at least in the first few days. Invest in the main quest line until Luna gives you the full arsenal. After you have this solid base, then the game can finally breathe. The farm starts paying for itself, you have time to socialize, and every extra activity you do has a real purpose. Focusing in the beginning seems counterintuitive in such an open game, but trust me, it is the difference between spending the first month suffering and starting to actually harvest. This is a tip that many people end up leaving for later, but in practice, it makes a big difference in your progress. Building the barn early. I even took a while to invest in this because 4,000 coins at the beginning seemed like a lot. But after I did it, it was clear that it was something to have prioritized much earlier. As soon as you manage to save up the money, go to Ridge and secure the barn. And it doesn't stop there. Buy some chickens from Luna to start the production running. Even with few animals, you start to see results quickly, mainly because they work for you every day without needing much effort. The big differentiator here is fertilizer. This directly impacts the quality of your crops, which means more profit when you sell or even when you process these items later. Besides that, the animal's own products already help create a constant income, which comes in little by little and adds up at the end of the day. In the end, the barn is that investment that makes your farm something more efficient and automatic. The sooner you put the animals to work, the sooner you start building a solid base of passive income. It is a decision that weighs on your wallet in the beginning, but it pays for itself faster than it seems. If there is one thing I took a while to value, it was fertilizer. In the beginning, I just wanted to plant and harvest as quickly as possible, without paying much attention to quality. But the game changes completely when you understand that it's not just about quantity, it's about how much each harvest is really worth. Before planting, use the animal fertilizer. It seems like a small detail, but it raises the quality of your crops. And that's when those 1, 2, or 3-star harvests start appearing. And that is where the real money comes in. Because when you process these products into wine, juice, or jam, the profit goes up in an absurd way compared to selling everything raw. The best part of this strategy is that you don't need a giant farm to earn well. Instead of spending energy clearing and planting more and more, you focus on maximizing what you already have. A smaller area, well-fertilized and well-processed, yields more than a huge plot full of common crops. It is pure efficiency. For me, this was the moment when Moonlight Peaks stopped being just plant and sell and became an optimization game. Fertilize, harvest with quality, and process. This simple cycle multiplies your progress without exhausting you. If you are still selling everything in its raw state, try this path. The difference in profit is huge. Saving resources at the beginning of the game to upgrade later is the perfect recipe for staying put. We always think, I'll save a bit more copper, a bit more money, then I'll upgrade everything at once. But here, the sooner you evolve your tools, the faster the game stops being a struggle and becomes a progress machine. I tried to do it the stubborn way, running around with basic tools, thinking I was being smart. Spoiler, I wasn't. My order of priority today is very clear, and it starts with the pickaxe. Without a decent pickaxe, you simply cannot dig what you need efficiently. Mining with the initial tool is like trying to break a stone with your forehead. It spends energy, takes an eternity, and you end up giving up on exploring the caves. As soon as I got the iron pickaxe, the difference was stark. Suddenly, I was collecting real ores, materials that before seemed unreachable, and this completely changed the pace of my farm. After the pickaxe, I run to the axe and the watering can. An upgraded axe means more wood per hit, and wood is the blood that fuels practically every construction in the game. You look at the resource deposit and see that stock growing without needing to spend all day hitting trees. As for the upgraded watering can, guys, this saves hours of gameplay. Irrigating plot by plot with the basic can is a nightmare that drains your energy and your patience. When you upgrade, the coverage area increases and you can take care of huge fields without spending all your stamina in a few minutes. The trick is the moment you reach the iron level. Then it's not just a matter of speed, it's a matter of possibility. Iron tools allow you to collect resources that were previously locked, and these materials are exactly what you need to build machines that automate part of the work and expand areas of the farm that seemed inaccessible. I remember when I finally got the materials for my first processing machine, it was the first time I felt the farm was working with me and not against me. So, don't sleep on the upgrade. Invest early, invest in the right order, and watch your little piece of Moonlight Peaks turn into a real enterprise. This was a mechanic I ignored at first, and then realized I was missing out on a huge advantage: capturing Soul Blobs. At first glance, they seem like just another secondary activity, but when you start interacting with death and seeing the rewards, everything changes. The Soul Blobs give you access to very useful bonuses, but what really makes a difference is the possibility of adjusting the duration of the night. This is extremely powerful because time in Moonlight Peaks directly impacts how much you can produce, explore, and organize your farm. It is not just an aesthetic issue or a matter of preference, it is pure strategy. For example, if you are the type who likes to optimize every second, shortening the night can make the cycle faster and more dynamic. Now, if you prefer to make better use of certain night activities or need more time to farm specific resources, lengthening the night can be much more advantageous. I tested both styles, and just by adapting this to my pace, I felt the progress flow much better. In the end, this is one of those control tools that the game gives you, but doesn't explain the real impact. Adjusting the nighttime to your style removes that friction from the gameplay and makes everything yield more. So don't ignore the Soul Blobs. They might seem small, but they have a giant effect on the speed at which your farm evolves.